Good evening, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Google+. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Saturday, July 23rd, 2016, around 7:46 in the evening in Berwick, Massachusetts. It had a brief thunder shower today around 7:15. Came down a downpour for about 5 minutes or so, but it just left a tenth of an inch of rain. But we're in a severe thunderstorm warning into 10 p.m. tonight. We do need significant rain, but this is just a drop in the bucket. Some news to report. Quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees, has not talked with the team about a new contract since April, and Drew Brees' contract expires at the end of the year. See how this plays out? And White Sox pitcher Chris Sale has been scratched from the starting tonight for unprofessional conduct. There's rumors he's on the trading block. The Red Sox, the Texas Rangers, and the Los Angeles Dodgers are top candidates to get Chris Sale. And that's about it on the news. My third and final video blog subject tonight is my personality profile. Tonight's personality profile is one of the most famous heel managers in professional wrestling history, and also one of the best heel announcers of pro wrestling history. I'm talking about Bobby the Brain Heenan, also known as the Weasel. Bobby the Brain Heenan had close to a 40-year career in the world of professional wrestling, and he's kind of like a sad story now. Bobby the Brain Heenan was born in Chicago, Illinois. He grew up in Chicago and Indianapolis, Indiana. His real name is Raymond Lewis Heenan. He was a big wrestling fan as a youngster. He even carried bags for the wrestlers at shows in Chicago and Indianapolis. He had an eighth grade education because he dropped out of school to support his family, his mother and grandmother, because his father abandoned the family at a young age when Bobby was young. And Bobby became a professional wrestler in 1965 under the name Pretty Boy Bobby Heenan as a light heavyweight wrestler. He also became a heel manager. He was a good talker. He was in the WWA territory, which is Indianapolis, which was owned by the late great Dick the Bruiser. Bobby the Brain Heenan managed in that territory for about 8 years or so, managing the Blackjacks, Mulligan and Lanza, the Valiant Brothers, Jimmy and Johnny, the Assassins, Angelo Poffo, Ernie Ladd, Baron Van Raschke, and others. And Bobby the Brain Heenan would interfere a lot when the opponents were down as a heel manager, but he always would get beaten up by the face wrestlers, and he would cower over that. Bobby the Brain Heenan's interview skills were pretty good. He was sometimes called Weasel. Bobby the Brain Heenan left the WWA territory in 1974 because he and Dick the Bruiser did not get along at all. And Bobby went to the AWA, and for the next 10 years he was in the AWA as a manager of Ray Stevens, Nick Bockwinkel, Blackjack Lanza, Bobby Dumpkin, Bob Orton, Ken Patera, Super Destroyer Mark II, who was Sergeant Slaughter, Mr. Saito, and many others. He led Nick Bockwinkel to several AWA World Championships. He's also managed Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel to the Tag Team Championships, and also Blackjack Lanza and Bobby Dumpkin to the AWA World Tag Team Championships. For a time in 1979, Bobby left the AWA because the kayfabe reason. He was suspended by AWA President Stanley Blackburn because of an incident, but in reality he quit the AWA to go to George Championship Wrestling, and he managed a few wrestlers down there: Mass Superstar, Killer Carl Cox, Blackjack Lunge, among others. And once in a while, he would get in the ring and wrestle on occasions, and he would always get beaten up and bloody by the face wrestlers. He went back to the AWA in 1980, spent 4 more years there, and a couple of times Bobby the Brain Heenan wanted to go to New York, the WWF, but the problem was they had the 3 heel managers, Classy Freddie Blassie, the Grand Wizard of Wrestling, and Captain Lowell Barnhole, and Bobby the Brain Heenan every year called Vince McMahon Sr. Vince McMahon Sr., we have no room for a 4th heel manager. When Vince McMahon Sr. died, Vince McMahon Jr. took over the WWF, which is now the WWE, and in September of 1984, Bobby left the AWA to join the WWE as a manager. He managed the Heenan family for many, many years. Some of the wrestlers he managed in the WWE was Big John Studd, Ken Patera, Paul Mr. Wonderful Orndorff, The Missing Link, Adrian Adonis, King Kong Bundy, King Harley Race, Hercules, The Islanders, which were Haku and Tama, Ravishing Rick Rude, Terry Taylor, the Red Rooster, Andre the Giant, the Brain Busters, the Brooklyn Brawler, the Barbarian, and Mr. Perfect, among others. He managed a couple of wrestlers to WWE Gold, including Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, the Brain Busters, and the Colossal Connection, which was Haku and Andre the Giant. And Bobby the Brain Heenan still once in a while gone in the ring and got like bumps taken by the face wrestlers a lot. And he was wear and tear on him. He had some neck problems. Around 1986, Bobby became a heel announcer, subbing for Jesse the Body Ventura on Saturday night's main event. But later on in the year, he became the color man to Gorilla Monsoon for WWE All-Star Wrestling, which was rebranded as WWE Wrestling Challenge in September of 1986. And for the next several years, Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon were like a comedy team. Most likely, they were focusing on banning among each other instead of really calling the matches, which was very funny, very comedic. Gorilla played Bobby Straight Man, and Bobby also hosted Primetime Wrestling, and he was on WWE pay-per-views. Around 1991, Bobby stopped managing full-time to become a broadcast journalist, and he was great in that role as a heel manager, a heel announcer, and he was responsible for bringing Nature Boy Ric Flair to the WWE in 1991, September 1991, as an executive consultant. He even managed Ric Flair feud on a few house shows against Hulk Hogan around October of 1991, but like Bobby couldn't do it, work full-time as a manager again because he had neck problems, which eventually he needed surgery in 1995. Bobby came around with the WWE until the fall of 1993. Because his contract was being up for renewal, the WWE wanted him to stay, but they offered him a reduced rate, and he lived in Florida. The WWE wanted him to move to the New York City area, but Bobby didn't want to because he would have to relocate his wife and his daughter, who was starting college. So he signed a deal for more money and less work dates for WCW. He became the WCW lead heel announcer on Saturday nights worldwide and the pay-per-views. Bobby the Brain Heenan teamed with Tony Schiavone a lot, and they were pretty good together. But Bobby really did not like working for WCW that much because he said the WWE was more fun than WCW, and it seems like Bobby checked out. His commentating eventually went downhill. During the NWO era, he actually was kind of a de facto face when the NWO was around, And by 1998, 1999, it seemed like Bobby the Brain Heenan was basically all done as an announcer. WCW folded in 2001, and Bobby appeared back at the WWE for one night only for that WrestleMania 17 to like the gimmick battle royal. So he was on like a couple of women's pay-per-view wrestling shows as an announcer, and also he returned to his roots for the XWF as a sports agent to Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. Around 2002, Bobby the Brain Heenan was diagnosed with cancer, and he successfully beat it for a little while, but there was no revolutionary change for Bobby the Brain Heenan. He lost a considerable amount of weight. He couldn't talk that much because the cancer cost him to like a part of his tongue, so he couldn't talk that properly. But he still continued to appear at wrestling events, being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2004, doing some voiceover work for the Legends of Wrestling Showdown video game for PlayStation 2, or even appearing at on TNA. And he actually wrote 2 wrestling books which were bestsellers. Over time, Bobby the Brain Heenan's health got worse and worse. He had subsequent cancer surgeries which left his jaw reconstructed, and assortment of health problems. He can't talk anymore, and he still appears from time to time at pro wrestling conventions, and it's such a sad situation to see Bobby the Brain Heenan now. Even though he looked like he's having fun, it's just so sad to see his pale comparison of what he used to look like. Cancer, he's like a cancer survivor, but like cancer really, made Bobby the Brain Heenan a shell of his former self. I really cry when I see pictures of Bobby the Brain Heenan now in his state. It breaks my heart to see what has he become. You gotta inspire him. He's kind of an inspiration for people who survive cancers, but the horror of seeing somebody you really like in a different state, it's just sad. It's just so sad. That's sometimes cancer just, the consequences of it is disastrous. It's just so sad to see, Bobby the Brain Heenan and what he looks like now, but he's hanging in there. He's hanging in there, and he was one of the most colorful personalities in professional wrestling history, and he's awesome. And there was a DVD 2010 that came out by WWE, and I read both of his books. I own both of his books, so they're entertaining. That's about it on Bobby the Brain Heenan. That's about it on these video blogs: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Google+. Tomorrow, only 2 coming your way. First will be about the top 10 professional wrestling video games of all time, and the second and final video blog of the night will be about my take on hookups. That means people setting up on dates. And no more personality profiles to August, because it takes the last week of each month. I give it a rest. But there's some awesome ones coming in August, and you gotta stay tuned. And the rest and next week's video blogs will be awesome. Keep calm, everybody. I'm a Julie Budding guy. Molly Osmond, WCCO, Roxanne has nice legs. Elizabeth Hart, so stunning, she's the best. Amy Swendy, so awesome. Linda Church is such a cool guy, has nice legs. And in the words of Sean, get out by now.